Kyren Lacy was supposed to be in the NFL. Kyren Lacy was accused of something and being investigated for something that he didn't do, and he died having to live with the guilt and the consequences of a guilty man knowing he was innocent. It recently was discovered that he was 72 yards away from the crash, that police and state policemen tried to coerce and doctor and use ways to manipulate statements that put this young man behind bars. They changed his joy, they changed his life, and eventually he took his own life. This was supposed to be a career, but at least he was supposed to be here. At some point throughout his career, I would expect to have said his name. So I'm gonna say his name tonight.
Amen.
Kyren Lacy was innocent. Kyren Lacy should be here with us. Nothing will ever repair or replace the pain that his parents have to feel and his loved ones have to feel. But we could say his name. There were so many stations that ran the fact that he was being investigated. So I wanted to make sure here with Scott, we could say that he was an innocent man and at least know that he has that as he rests.
You and I talked about this earlier tonight, and I'll just share with them what I share with you. I can't recall ever seeing something that made me react viscerally to the point that I felt like my hands were trembling to think that there's video that shows that this is not at all what happened.
Ryan Clark of ESPN, formerly of the NFL and the LSU football program, spoke on the tragedy of Kyren Lacy. Lots of reactions here, and unfortunately, they were negative. Very, very, very negative. Let's start here. Jack Mack, of no surprise, Barstool Sports, tweeted, Kyren Lacy is wanted on homicide charges. I tweet out a photo of Kyren Lacy pretending to shoot somebody, and I'm called a racist. All you can do is laugh. He would even reply to a tweet stating, maybe, just maybe, he's not a good guy. Now, for those unaware, Kyren Lacy was Louisiana State University's leading receiver in 2024. He was also a hopeful for the NFL draft. In December of 2024, there was a fatal crash where Herman Hall lost his life. In January, Lacy was arrested, charged with negligent homicide, felony hit and run with death, and reckless operation of a vehicle. The cops would go on to practically blame Kyren Lacy for what transpired. Just a few months later, in April, Lacy reportedly had a dispute with a family member, which led to a high-speed chase. He would crash his car and take his own life. Police claimed that the cause of the crash, and that when he fled the scene, that he was illegally passing the other vehicles, causing another car to take evasive action to avoid impact with Lacy's vehicle and crash into Hall's car. Or he would release his findings. And what's very important about this is that it would contradict what Louisiana State Police concluded, that Kyren Lacy was at fault here. Lacy's car, traveling behind, not in front of, the vehicles involved in the wreck, was some 70 yards away. His car would be spotted after said crash, driving around the wreckage. Ori released another damning video, how a trooper seemed to influence a written statement where he said, and I quote, make sure you add in there that you had to slam on your brakes, and the brakes, had to slam on your brakes to avoid that charger, and the brakes locked up to avoid that charger. Why are you doing this? Is the bigger question. It would be corroborated that Lacy was going less than 30 miles an hour. Here's another quote from his lawyer. It is crucial to emphasize that Kyren Lacy didn't cause or contribute to the crash. There was no suspicion of alcohol or drug use involved. Furthermore, contrary to media reports, Lacy never returned to the scene of the accident. This is important, and this is via WBRZ. Lacy's lawyer said the driver of the second vehicle involved, the one that would crush Herman Hall's car, gave statements saying that this woman attempted to avoid the gold truck, which keeps coming back. The gold truck, the gold truck, the gold truck, okay? And she tried to avoid it, the gold truck, because she was behind it, rather than Lacy's green Dodge Charger. The report that he says is from the DA's investigation in their office said the trooper that was questioning said driver tried to recap what she was stating, but it contradicted her own statements. The next paragraph importantly reads, Ori would show body cam footage from the trooper getting the statement from the driver of the gold truck, and this was later on. The footage would show the trooper directing the driver once again, appearing to influence that police statement, saying you had to slam on your brakes to avoid that charger. Why would a trooper do this? Why? At this point, considering we know how some of these departments conduct themselves, I'm almost surprised that the body cam footage came out. So the driver of the gold truck said the woman driving the car behind him caused the wreck when she tried to pull into the other lane to avoid hitting the back of said truck. Now, today we have this update. From Ori, he had no idea he caused this accident because he didn't think he caused the accident. He did not cause the accident. He told HTV in a must-see interview.
According to the video timestamp, at 12:03 p.m. and 54 seconds, a portion of the crash can be seen as it occurs. Moments before the crash, the gold pickup truck abruptly veers out of the northbound lane into a business, while the green Charger is approaching in the same lane. Immediately after the crash occurred, the green Charger was observed on surveillance video and by witnesses traveling through the crash scene and continues north on LA 20, failing to stop. At the same time, all other vehicles remain at the scene to provide assistance.
So there's a lot here. There is going to be more. Louisiana State Police released their video on YouTube, comments off, and I am very curious to see Matthew Ori because he said that he would protect Kyren Lacy. He is telling you that the truth will come out, and I am very, very curious to see what his next move is because I feel like this is sort of a Pablo Torre thing where he's going to release some, not all, wait for the police to make their statement, and then he's going to counter them.